Hello viewers! Do the headlights on your car look like this? Yellowed, faded and dim. To be honest, this is not only a cosmetic problem, but it also affects safety as it reduces the vehicle's visibility. Luckily, several practical solutions, such as headlight polishing or more recently a method called headlight polymerization, could help you restore the headlights on your car and make them shine again. Let's see what's what. Most cars made in the past 20 or 30 years have headlights made from plastic instead of glass, which usually fades and becomes dull over time. This mostly happens due to the exposure to the sun's UV rays, although overly aggressive cleaning agents and minor mechanical damage significantly accelerates the process. As a result, we have headlights that look like this, whose surface is effectively destroyed. Instead of being smooth and transparent like glass, it's rough, faded and in most cases yellowish. Not only is it ugly, but it also reduces visibility because the beam of light from the headlight scatters, so to speak, as it passes through this cloudy plastic and loses some of its focus. One of the most common solutions to the problem is headlight polishing, which effectively removes the damaged faded surface. The procedure, though requiring effort and patience, is quite simple. It all starts by wet sanding the headlights using several different sandpapers. For example, start with 600 grit, then 1000 and so on until you reach the fine 3000 grit sandpaper. In this way, all the damaged headlight surface is removed, although the headlight still remains slightly hazy. And that's when the next step comes into play. Polishing. Here, abrasive paste and the polishing machine are used to smooth out the headlight's surface to look practically as new. But this freshly polished surface is like an open flesh wound and practically immediately begins to fade again, though it will take months before it becomes apparent. The solution is either to spray a layer of clear coat onto the freshly polished headlights, which is not always as easy as it may seem, or to apply a protective coating which seals the newly polished headlights and stops the UV rays. This is often very effective, although the procedure needs to be repeated periodically. Headlight polishing is already widely known and well documented, so I won't go further in detail here. Instead, what I like us to turn our attention to is a relatively new method called headlight polymerization. As I'll show in a moment, this restoration process is done somewhat similarly to classic polishing. It starts with wet sanding to remove the faded surface, but only to 1500 grit. Then, instead of further sanding and polishing, we use this specially formulated liquid. Once applied to freshly sanded headlights, it will give them a smooth and clear look, while also serving as a protective layer that ensures it stays that way for years. But the most important thing here is how all this is done, and that's with the help of this, mug. Thanks to a built-in electric heater, it turns the liquid into steam, which comes out through this opening, sticks to the headlight's sanded surfaces, and fuses into it while also creating a perfectly smooth outer layer. But enough with the theory, let's see how all this is done. The first step, of course, is preparation. For a start, wash the headlights thoroughly with ordinary car shampoo, removing any insects or other dirt. Then, since there will be some sanding in the following steps, we have to protect everything around the headlights with masking tape. And while doing so, we must avoid covering any parts of the headlight with tape. The next step is sanding, and for this we need several sandpaper grits and water. If the headlights are very faded, just like these are, then I would start with 600 or 800 grit. The job itself is simple, but it requires patience. We'll go over the entire headlight surface several times in horizontal and vertical directions, but without squeezing too much. We take extra care around any bends or odd-shaped bits, where we use very light pressure to avoid sanding off too much material. And every once in a while, we rinse the surface of the headlight with water. This way, not only do we remove the sanded down material, but we can also see what we are doing a little better. Also, while going over the headlight with sandpaper, we might notice a bit more resistance on some of its portions. This means the surface here is rougher, so we concentrate a bit more on that part. Our goal is to achieve a surface as even as possible, without any differences. We repeat the same with slightly finer sandpaper, say 1000 grit and then 15,000 grit. Finally, after completing all this, We thoroughly wash the headlight and everything around it, wipe it with a clean cloth or paper towel and leave it for a few minutes to dry up. We must ensure that the surface is uniformly hazy, so to speak, because this means the roughness is approximately the same all around. Likewise, there shouldn't be any deeper scratches, because these will be later seen as, for example, small grooves in the plastic. Now we go to the polymerization part of the process, which has several preparation steps on its own. One of them is to get the protective gear. Latex gloves to protect our hands from spillage and a mask of some sort, as we don't want to inhale the unhealthy fumes that may result during the following step. For a pair of headlights, we need to fill it halfway up and seal it tightly with this uniquely shaped lid. Plug it into the power outlet and leave it for 5 minutes until the liquid heats up and starts evaporating. While waiting for this, we'll prepare the headlights by cleaning them with a towel and an alcohol-based cleaner. And now it's time for action. We start from the lower edge of the headlight. It's the easiest way because the vapor goes up and we want the newly applied layer of polymer to be as uniform as possible. We do part by part of the headlight, patiently and carefully, until all of its surface is covered with this new coat. To be honest, this is so simple and intuitive that I really have nothing more to explain, but I can add a few tips and observations. First, while working, gently rock the mug from side to side, as this helps the liquid evaporate. Second, work slowly and methodically, leaving an evenly covered surface behind, because there is no coming back onto the parts that have already been treated. When the polymer hardens, which usually takes 10 minutes, the new layer often won't stick to it. Lastly, don't do this in windy or cold weather, because then the whole process is much longer and more tedious. Realistically, the wind is the biggest problem here, because it carries the steam stream coming from the mug in all directions. My recommendation is to do this in a well-lit and well-ventilated garage. And there you have it, that's how the finished headlight looks like compared to the unfinished one. I'm quite sure the difference is more than obvious. Once finished, the newly applied layer of polymer should be left for an hour or so, and if possible, the headlights shouldn't be in direct sunlight for about 8 hours, nor should you wash them with anything during that period. In the end, only one question remains. How long will it take until these headlights fade again? In theory, they should last for years, because we effectively put a new layer of plastic on them, which is significantly more resilient to UV rays than a polished headlights. But this depends on several factors. How well the procedure itself was done, and what we do to keep the headlights in good shape in the future. And with that in mind, it would be a good idea to apply some kind of protective coating, ceramics, nano coating or something similar, a day or two after the polymerization has been done. This is done relatively quickly. Just coat the thoroughly cleaned headlight with a thin layer of protective agent, leave it for 5 or 10 minutes, and then rub it with a soft microfiber cloth. And you can repeat this every few months, let's say 2 times a year. It's neither demanding nor expensive work. So that would be all about faded headlights, why that happens and how to fix them efficiently. I hope this video was helpful, and if so, don't forget to give us a big thumbs up and share it with your friends. And of course, if you have something to add or ask, be sure to write in the comments. Bye!